This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we welcome guest Stephen Albright, a faith-filled family man from Ohio. In today's episode, we hear powerful stories of resilience, faith, and forward movement. From navigating a complicated relationship with his father to facing a life-changing stroke, Steve's journey has been one of unexpected guidance and growth. His story of pain, confusion, and faith show the importance of asking for help, waiting, and seeing the way forward. Life doesn't always unfold as we expect, but sometimes the most surprising moments lead to clear paths towards purpose, connection, and hope. Thank you for joining us for Part 1, Stephen Albright's story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Beyond Stillness offers a moment of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, we create a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. As we begin today, we take a moment of pause to honor ways that wisdom has emerged through our recoveries, to revere purpose, connection, and hope that has showed up in our lives. And we give thanks. Now, Stephen Albright's story.
My name is Stephen Albright, and I live just north of Dayton, Ohio. I'd like to thank Molly for putting this together for me, and thank John Loomis for giving Molly my information. I'm a firm believer that everybody's story is important, and everybody has a story, and every story has chapters, and these are just a few of mine. After my mom and father divorced, she pretty much had to raise us on her own. She was extremely hurt and bitter by my father. She made it clear that he didn't want anything to do with us and never sent child support. As a kid, that stung, that hurt. I wanted him in my life, especially during the summer of '77 when my big brother, Ray, was struck by lightning and died. Approximately 25, 30 years ago, my aunts, Mary and Liz, reached out and shared that my father was coming into town and wanted to see me. And I was fairly sure that he didn't want to hear what I had to say. I really didn't want to hear what he had to say. For several days, I wasn't sleeping good, and I was angry all the time for no real specific reason. Before he came, I decided to head out to the holy city of the Wichitas. It's just a special place to me. I've always loved it. Sometimes while you're out there, you have to pay attention to what's going on because it is a free-range wildlife preserve, and it's not uncommon. Bison end up in the parking lot. I just felt a need to go and sit down by the statue. There's a 30-foot statue of Christ. I sat there and prayed for a little bit and just thought and asked, what should I do about meeting my father? But after about an hour, I drove maybe 20 minutes to the little town of Medicine Park. I was still confused about everything and not sure what to do. And there's two bridges. One is arched and one's flat and straight. And I don't know really for sure what directed me, but I went out halfway across and was just leaning over the edge and looking down into the water, watching the fish and turtles, frogs, dragonflies, whatever happened to come by. And while I was sitting there, I was kind of praying to myself, okay, what do I need to do? What should I do? I heard a voice. It wasn't my voice. It was a male voice. It wasn't real high pitched. It wasn't loud and bellowing, but it was special for me because I heard a voice and there was nobody else there with me. I was the only one on the bridge. There was nobody nearby. But that same voice told me, but this is not yours to carry around. Put it down, leave it there. Just stop. And I said, okay, sure. Because it just sounded right and it sounded good. And I said, all right, fine. And as I walked away, I immediately felt more relief and just relaxed, just in my own mind and my own heart. Once I left the bridge, went back to the car and started driving back home. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to write him a letter. And so I wrote my father a letter. And I told him, when you get in town, let's sit down and talk. Let's meet up. I don't want any excuses. I don't want any apologies. I just want to start over and see what happens next. And so we did meet up, and we all went, my wife and I, and him and his wife, Lee, went out to lunch and sat around and chit-chatted. And then that fall, my wife and I went up to South Dakota to visit them. And while him and I went out hunting, my wife stayed at the house with Lee. And for whatever reason, Lee decided that she needed to show Peggy some things from the past. She showed Peggy the divorce decree saying that he wasn't allowed to see us as a kid. Then Lee showed Peggy a box with canceled child support checks dated back to the time my father left my mom. The lady he was with at the time had secretly canceled all the checks and taken the money for herself. He thought they were mailed. So they ended up separating eventually. After finding out about it, I realized there's a lot more going on than what I've been told. In her hurt and pain, my mom didn't quite tell us everything. But thanks to that moment on the bridge, I now have 2 sisters, a nephew, and 2 nieces that I never would have known otherwise. I'm thankful I asked God for help and waited. I found an unexpected path forward. Jump forward up to July 4th of 2019. I woke up and wanted to start training that day for my 50-mile ultra marathon. I walked down the stairs, sat down next to my wife, grabbed my phone, started to check my messages. Then all of a sudden, my left arm just started bouncing around like it had a mind of its own. In surprise and shock, I tried to jump up, and my left leg decided to join in the same fun, and it started bouncing around. And it was like half my body was trying to get away from me and do its own thing and didn't want to do what I wanted it to do. And my wife was like, "Are you okay?" She was just as confused and disturbed as I was in that moment. I pretty much just fell back on the couch. And then I tried to play it down by saying, "I am fine." But by that time, my voice was gone too. "I'm fine." And I could hear myself saying it wrong. So I kept trying to correct it. So it's, "I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine." And then she looked at me and said, "You are not fine." And she called the 911. Over the phone, they determined by using the BFAST system, they determined that I was having a stroke over the phone. And so they sent the squad out. And while I was sitting there, I just thought maybe I was having a seizure because I had no history of stroke even in the family. I mean, no history of seizures either. My only risk factor was smoking. And I know smoking and marathons don't usually go together, but it never really bothered me. And the squad got me to the first hospital. Within the first hour, they gave me TPA. I don't ever remember really being scared, just confused. Everybody rushing around. By that time, my arm and leg had gone completely limp, and I really wasn't talking much. In my mind, I remembered having complete conversations with the doctors and nurses. But Peggy's like, no, you weren't. They decided to transfer me from one hospital to another one. When we got to that ER, Dr. Bose, he went in through my right femoral artery, went up through my torso with the stylet. He went up in my head and pulled the clot out. And as soon as he did that, I got everything back. I could speak clear. I could wiggle my toes and fingers, everything. Just had a splitting headache. And just barely 24 hours later, a second clot hit. And the same doctor went in and removed that one. That hit the exact same spot as the first one. After he removed that one, though, I kept my speech back, but I didn't get my leg and my arm back. When I got in the room, I put my feet up on the bed for comfort. And then the small of my back started to hurt. So I put my feet down and I tried to push myself back in the chair. I didn't have my shoes on. My feet slid right out from underneath me. I was wearing my running shorts and my running shirt. It was that silky, smooth fabric. And when my feet slid out from underneath me, my body just started sliding out of the chair. And I just slid all the way to the ground and laid there for a minute, looking underneath the bed, like trying to see where is a call button that I can get a hold of. But of course, there's no button under the bed. Now I was just laying there on the ground, looking at the bottom of the bed and up at the ceiling. And there's the chair that I was just sitting in. I couldn't really believe I was in this situation. Just a few days ago, I was ready to head out for an ultra marathon training run. I was at a complete loss. I remember looking out the door and somebody walked past the room, and then I guess they stopped and did a retake, and they took a couple steps back and looked in the room like, you okay? And I said, well, I'm stuck. They got a hold of the nursing staff and everybody came in. They knew what to do and how to get me up. I remember laughing about it. We all laughed a little bit. The second day in the rehab unit, my physical therapist, Christine, came in to get me. She walked in the room and said, okay, time to get up. And I was like, I can't. She approached my bed and got really close to me, almost nose to nose. And she said, you can't for now. And that really hit me hard. And it stuck in my head and in my memory, those words in my mind. I'm not always so good at it, but when a frustrating situation comes around, I remind myself, for now, you can't for now. I've learned to follow that up with, how can I? All the frustration is for now and will go away. I just have to slow myself down and think my way through it. I need to ask for help, wait, and find my way, see what happens. Just like one of the days I was home alone, I really felt like soaking in a hot tub, and new handrails weren't installed yet, but I still wanted to do it. And right before I got in, I was like, this is not a good idea. My balance is off. I was having trouble getting up on my own. And of course, with water involved, it gets a little slippery. But I went for it anyways. What the heck? I enjoyed my time relaxing in the tub, but when I tried to get up, I couldn't leverage myself and my hand slipped. And boop, right back down into the tub I went. Okay, how the heck do I get up now? I can't get up for now. I kind of rolled my eyes and say, okay, how can I? There's no call button in the bathroom at the house like in the hospital. I was at a loss. I'm going to need some help, I thought. I'm stuck, naked in a tub. Who is strong to help me out now? I tried calling my brother, but he was out of town, so too far away. And Tom, an old high school friend of mine who was a football player, he'd surely be able to help me. He's a big guy, owns a shop local here in town. I was a bit embarrassed, but called and asked him to come over and help. And in the meantime, I drained the tub and covered myself with a towel and just wait. By the time Tom got here, my embarrassment grew to humiliation. Oddly, in humiliating moments, it's important to use the call button and wait. You will find a way. Eventually, Tom arrived, pulled my legs up over the edge of the tub so my feet were out. He grabbed a hold of my left arm, and I grabbed the rail with my right and leveraged enough to get my body up on the edge of the tub. Then I scooted over to the toilet seat to be able to stand up. It was a pretty intense moment between trying to laugh and do it. So many different feelings. I was angry at myself for getting in the tub in the first place. I was embarrassed. I was a little on the bum side. And when Tom left, I called and shared the story with my wife. Thankfully, we were able to just laugh at it by that point. Tom continues to pick up my call button. He picks me up to go to the shop and hang out with the guys. Sometimes he even lets me drive. We have a lot of fun just hanging out. I have found a lot of importance in reaching out to others. My friendship with Tom doesn't start there. He led me to a group of guys that meet in his shop weekly. We sit around together, talk, joke, laugh. It's important for me to get out of the house and surround myself with other people. Even if they don't completely understand what I'm going through, there's a sense of camaraderie. When I'm looking for people that might understand, or if I'm unable to make it out of the house, I do turn to online survivor groups that I found through Facebook. I never would have guessed how helpful social media could be. I veer towards the can-do hopeful groups because I know the importance of surrounding myself with positivity and hope. Unfortunately, there are people and groups that will ride the struggle bus all day long. They fuss and cuss. I've been there, I know, but I don't want to stay there. I've learned to use my call button to ask for help and always know that I will find a way forward. We all need help from time to time. Even if you're embarrassed, use your call button. There's an old saying that if you have to eat poop, take a big bite and get it over with. Recovery can be very lonely. It's really difficult for anyone not actually experiencing it to understand what it's like. My first year after the stroke, I went into a bad depression, almost gave up. I sat around so much that I developed a DVT in my affected leg. I was never truly suicidal, but if death had been a real person like in the movies, I probably would have invited him in to have a cold beer during that time frame. My depression was affecting my physical recovery. It was taking over my mind and further isolating me from others. One day I saw my neurologist, Dr. Pujar. He actually does listen. He suggested I look at a site called Psychology Today. And then on that site, I found another site called Sondermind. Answered a few of their questions, and then they sent me a list of a few therapists in the area that specialize in my needs. I connected with my therapist, Sam, just in time. It felt like a release valve. I still visit him today, but I'm in a very different space than I was before. It's nice to have another perspective. I love my family and communicate with them, but they don't want to hear my griping and complaining all the time. Nor are they professionals who specialize in helping people navigate these situations. I always leave Sam's sessions feeling a little bit better and have something to think about. It was also important for me to find someone who is approachable and relatable. I feel like I could have a cold beer with this guy. And looking back at those really dark moments, I'm grateful I told my neurologist about the depression. It was time for me to press the call button again, ask for help. I have found a way forward. My faith has played a pretty big role in my recovery as well. When asked, I always say my hope is in my faith. When the world knocks me down, it's hope that kneels down beside me and whispers in my ear, get up, try again. I can't brag on our church family enough. The first few weeks after I got home from the hospital, a group of them got together and brought meals every night for my wife and I. That took a lot of stress off of her, not having to add cooking and shopping to the list every night after work. Looking back at my life, I see in the most intense, confusing, discouraging moments, I've never been alone. There's more to life than just what meets the eye. And maybe there's a hidden box of canceled checks in your life. Maybe there's someone who yearns for you to reach out to them and restart a relationship. There will be moments of confusion, disorientation, as if you are laying on the cold floor looking at the world upside down, seeing only the bottom of a hospital bed. Keep asking yourself, how can I get up? Look for the call button. Maybe you're calling God, as I did that day on the bridge. Maybe you're calling a friend naked from the tub. Maybe you're calling a therapist or support group. Use your call button. Ask for help. There will always be a way forward. You just have to look.
Storytelling empowers us to share our experiences in a way that invites others to reflect on their own. In closing, we offer reflection questions as an opportunity to spark dialogue with yourself, friends, family, and fellow stroke survivors. I will read questions aloud. You can also find them in the podcast episode description. Community conversation prompts. Recall a moment you felt lost or confused during your own recovery. How did you overcome it? How has asking for help in vulnerable moments benefited your recovery?
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show.
Thank you for listening to Part 1, Stephen Albright's story. Stick with us for Part 2, Stephen Albright's interview. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. Steve's journey reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there is always a pathway forward, and that it's important to use your own proverbial call button. Ask for help and know that there is always a way forward. We hope Steve's story inspired you to embrace the unexpected and trust the process of healing and growth. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with others and consider donating to Beyond Stillness Stories After Stroke.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.